How we?
All right, cool. That's what's up.
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl Shannon,
It's your man Terance J.
and this is
The Last Podcast.
And why is this the last podcast, Terrence?
Well, depending on what we say or what we do, this could quite possibly be
The Last Podcast.
So, welcome back. Welcome back, man. I'm so glad of everybody who got a chance to tune in last week.
Yeah.
With, all the comments and feedbacks. We do appreciate all of them.
We had some
good,
interesting
bad,
feedback.
negative. We appreciate you guys watching and getting feedback. So,
No, we listen. I enjoyed, even if it's feedback that I didn't necessarily agree with. I do enjoy that it was feedback that lets me know that you at least listen.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat, and but thank you so much for all the outpouring support and love that you guys gave for last week's show. It made us feel really good because we worked hard.
We did. Yeah.
We worked hard during the show,
pre-show, during the show, and
after the show.
It was a sigh of relief after the show after we got it because it's a different format, and so we wanted to, and it was some things that we did want to express, and I hope that our intent came across. Like I said, whether you agree with it or not, I hope the intent of what we were trying to do was to have a conversation where the actual conversation can be had without going back and forth. And I think our main thing was,
hey, Angel, I'm sorry. I haven't seen. I was about to ask you where Angel was. I had not seen Angel.
We haven't seen Angel in a while.
Angel Wings, and I lost my old account, so I don't even know if we're friends on my new account. But I have been thinking about you a lot, so I'm so glad to see that you're here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm so glad to see you, Angel. I hope everything is well. We love you. We missed you.
Yes,
and we're glad to see you here.
Yeah. So, and for those of you watching this later or listening to it on audio, we love our people that come in and give our comments, and our comment section becomes a whole party, and people have met each other in our comment section and became like cool. So, we always rock out with the people that rock with us.
I always go back and look at the comment section, and sometimes I'm like, dang, I wish I knew what they were talking about at this particular,
Yeah, because they're commenting on our show live, and you're like, what were we talking about?
But I go back and look at the comments and just laugh, and sometimes we'll call each other. I'm like, man, did you see this? It's so funny.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you guys.
We do. And like I was saying, just having the opportunity to, one of the things that Shannon expressed to me was, she was like, a lot of times when women try to explain themselves about something, it's always like, okay, well, I'm tired. And then she said, then if they explain it to a guy, then God jumps in and says, well, I'm tired too. So it becomes this back and forth, battle. And I think both sides of the aisle, we both felt that way, which is why we wanted to have the conversation where we're saying, okay,
exactly,
not so much in a combative way. And I know some people probably think, well, there are certain things that I should have came back and said, but I was doing my best to stay away from that because I wanted to make sure that it got out there. And then as a show, one of the main things is to have the audience make their own decision. So get it out there and let you make decisions. And not always incumbent upon us to be able to say, okay, well, this is what we think, but we wanted to put it out there for you guys. But as we get into the show, make sure that you follow us on Facebook. It is The Last Podcast 1. And on Instagram, it's _ The Last Podcast. And I promise you, for those who follow us on Instagram, I will do better at posting stuff on Instagram right now because the show is live on Facebook. It's just a lot easier for that. But we're going to work on that. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And also, we got to get to our disclaimer.
We will still be friends after the show, no matter what is said, no matter what is done. We will continue to be friends.
Listen, been through worse.
Yeah, I mean,
some of the stuff y'all hear say to me, this is light. Okay, light.
It's true.
So,
should we give our unofficial disclaimer for this show? We really don't need it.
We don't need it today, but it is part of the show. So
it
I'm
is part of the
to
show.
Yeah.
If you are easily offended by anything, especially fat shaming, pretty much ain't the show for you. However, we want you to stick around, particularly for this show, because this show's gonna be a little different than our regular show. But we also want you to share it, even if you feel like y'all probably gonna slide in some fat jokes. We won't this show.
Not this show.
We try not to.
No, and y'all should be proud of us because last week we let a few opportunities.
Oh, Phew.
go just right past us, okay?
It was to the point to where I was writing stuff down so I can go back and
I went back. I go back and rewatch the show, and I was like, "Oh, I remember I was going to say that, but I held off." So
Me
you know
too.
what? We tried to change the format because we knew we wanted to have a certain type of flow to the show. So we held off. So for the second week in a row, we're going to hold off. But again, like we told you last week, we are who we are. If it accidentally comes out, yeah, it is what it is. But we're going to do our best.
I'm looking right here and I'm thinking, I was like, man, I have on glasses, so that's why. I have on glasses right there. Okay.
That was last week's show.
Yes, it was. The shirt looks very similar, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, we that's why we want to pay attention to the camera and not the. Yeah. But anyway, so those are our disclaimers, and we got to give those every week because, people act like they don't know. They get halfway to the show like, look, if you missed a disclaimer, that's on you. All right. But last week, we got a chance to, our show was titled Message to a Black Man,
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to put my mic back so that you'll know this is all on you.
Well, wait a minute. No, you're involved in this too. So, but last week, Shannon got opportunity to speak from not only her perspective, it was from her experience, it was from some other women that she knew or knows, and they would tell her certain things, conversations she's had with people. So understand that when we're sitting up here, of course, we can't speak for everybody, but we can pull from where we have come from and our circle of people we've been around and things and concerns that they have expressed to us. And so trying to have such a broad platform, we wanted to bring all that, not just from us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to say that I hope that my message, I hope I was able to convey it in a way that it did not feel like it was a damnation or a condemnation on Black men, because that's not what my intentions were. And my points came from numerous conversations with different Black women in different walks of life, different ages, and I kind of try to compile as much as I could to where it would fit in in an hour, and I tried to pull out things that really resonated with some of the conversations that you and I have had, and most of the things that I spoke about were things that had been repeated to me over and over again by different women from different walks of life, different Black women. So I hope that the ones who understood what I was saying, I appreciate it. The ones who did not, I still appreciate you for listening. Hopefully you can go back and listen to it with different ears and take something from it. If it doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't apply to you. But my goal was to really speak in a way that I can convey some of our not want to say issues, but some of our concerns that we have with our brothers in our community. And we are going to do that tonight on the flip side. And we want to give you the same respect that you gave me last week.
Yeah. So, y'all know we usually do a weekly rundown, and there were a few things that went on, and we want to give our condolences to everybody up in New York who suffered the tragedy of the man going on the subway. And I don't think we said this last week, the shootings here in Dallas at the field party, and I want to say Seattle. So everybody who's dealing with either the tragedy of loss of life or just injury from some random person coming in, shooting up places, our hearts go out to you and your family.
It's sad, man. You can't go anywhere. You can't even be in your own home. You just wrap yourself in bubble wrap, I guess, and just sit in the corner. It's getting to the point to where you don't even want to walk outside your door.
No, so y'all need to stay in the house and watch the last podcast.
That part.
Sorry, shameless plug. So to get into this show, message to a Black woman. All right. So, and I've been trying to share this out. So, hopefully you guys have clicked the share button. So if you're watching right now, we will appreciate if you would click share and make sure to share it out to your friends and family. And let everybody know that we on, man, and we're about to have a great conversation. All right. Yes. So with that being said, after last week, I think we got a lot of stuff to think about. on both sides, and so we said, okay, we're gonna do one where Shannon was talking to black men. I was gonna do one talking to the black women, and so these are just a few things that I've gotten from myself, from other guys, from I even have a group of men who even sent me some stuff that I'm just going to bring out and just let you guys know what different men were saying. And so one of the first things that I wanted to bring forward, because I think we get a bad rap a lot of times as black men when it comes to black women in the support. And I don't know if it feels this way. And from some of your comments, it kind of feels like it don't. But I really believe that of everybody else outside of the world, outside of black women, black men are you guys' biggest cheerleaders. The reason I say that is because when it comes down to your accomplishments or moving into different positions or just being, our women, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, and even friends. I don't know, and I don't hang around guys who are jealous when a woman gets a certain position. And if we see women on TV that gets now I have seen a few clowns say something about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, according to her. They didn't say anything about her qualifications, but it was like who she's married to, right? Yeah. But other than that, it's like, hey, congratulations, she was the first black woman Supreme Court judge. And we see these things out here, and like I said, we said something earlier when we talked. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, and we hear a lot of the loudness of people, but I think when you look overall, we do not actively root against you. We actually are happy that you are able to go out here and do the things that you set out to get, right? And I think where we see some contention is that when those things are accomplished, and not that we feel that you don't need us because you got them, it's kind of like I said last week about the degree when it's used to be weaponized, and it's like, sis, I'm happy for you. Right. I ain't mad. Right. I'm
like the degree gonna keep us warm at night.
Yeah, but yeah, and I'm not mad that you got the promotion. Yeah. I'm not mad that you have started your business, whatever your business is in. I don't care if it's from lashes to being a doctor. If you're doing your thing, do your thing and go out here. And why? Because as a whole, if we are working together as a whole, the better everybody is individually. If we come together, right, it makes for a better legacy for our families and things like that. Yeah. So I wanted to say that was the first thing I wanted to talk about was I just believe that we are your biggest cheerleaders, and I think sometimes we're looked at as we are your biggest ally. I mean, not allies, but biggest enemies. Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel in your world, not what you see like on the internet, do you feel in your world that men just in general have a problem with the success of a woman, just outside of anything else, no relationship, just got what she wanted?
In my world.
Yeah.
No, in my world, I feel like the men in my world are extremely supportive of the women in their world, the black women in their world. So yeah, I agree. I agree that that when you look at the support system and the advocacy for black women from anybody else, any other male species on earth, black men are our biggest supporters. And like you said, what happens is that the ones that are loud and the ones that make the most noise are the ones that gets the most attention. And that is what gets on social media and everything. So it appears to look like that's the overall feeling
Yeah.
of all black
The
men.
echo chamber gets real loud.
Very
Yeah,
loud, very
yeah.
loud. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think most people don't know that the Dallas Mavericks has a black woman. She's the first black woman CEO of the Mavericks, and I got a chance to meet her about a month ago. And my pride of it had nothing to do with gender. It was a black person in this role, and so hey. Sorry, this stuff had to go on with the Mavericks for them to get to the point. But you know what? She was qualified and she got it. And I was like, I said, congratulations, because there's a lot of people who could have got that role.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, well, we know he needed a woman in that position, but he chose a black woman. Mm-hmm. And so she got it. And so now she's the highest level black woman in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so, when I got a chance to meet her, I was like, wow. To me, it was like, as high up as I can, reach out to, I was like, man, she's somebody who's really important, because before the Mavericks, she ran AT&T. So, and it was just like, this is a woman who is very accomplished and very, very intelligent. And so I like to cheerlead those, because here's the thing, I do Essence every year. And if any of you have ever heard me talk about the Essence Festival, I employ everybody to go. Women, if you've never been, because you get a chance to see that the stereotype, even though you know it in your own circle, stereotype ain't what they say. Okay, as they say, 500,000 people go to the Essence Fest. They call it the Black Woman Super Bowl, and out of those 500,000, probably 350 to 400 are women, and everybody is having a great time. If you got daughters, ladies, I know Essence is a great experience to go party, but one year take your daughters so they can see, so nobody can tell her any different, so she can see for herself the sea of black women all having a great. She can experience. Yeah. I take mine every year, and she looks forward to it, and I'm excited that she gets a chance to see that. And for men, it's also a great experience, not just because there are beautiful women there, it's because you're in this convention center and you're like, oh my God, and everybody's moving around. So you say, you know what, the stereotype the what gets put out on the news a lot of times, and sometimes what we run to in our own life, it's not the only narrative out there. Right. And so that's why I say, if you've never been, take that trip. It's a modern historical type deal. It's something that you would keep with you at all times. So I did want to say that. Now, there was something else that I wanted to touch on, which was we had the conversation last week about femininity, right? And I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of women almost say that they can't be feminine because of men, or because of the situations they've been through, and they say, we would like to be feminine, we would like to be soft, but, and then that but then kicks in because of something that they're dealing with a man. And so I don't know if we have the power and control over your femininity in that way to even include us into that conversation of saying, we want to, but, because I think on the flip side, if we were to come and say, if I meet the right woman that I could be masculine for, then I'll do that. And I think sometimes it's like, well, no, you are, or you aren't. Are you feminine? Are you a feminine woman? Because even you told me about that a lot of times, creating space in certain areas, and correct me if I misquote you, to be able to be, soft in a way and allow that to come out, because you go into survival mode. But I got to ask this question, really, not shoes and not purses and not, careers, whatever. Has that survival mode really worked out?
Well, it's not that the survival mode has worked out. It's not we go into survival mode because we want to. We go into survival mode because of circumstances, right? And when we say we're not asking you for permission to be feminine, what we're saying is that we can't fully thrive in our femininity if we're having to play two roles, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that and sometimes the man does leave. And the woman then has to step up and she has to go into survival mode because she has children, she has bills, she has a life, she has all these things. But it could also be that she is with a man who maybe is not being the best leader, or she's with a man who does not know, who is not comfortable in his role as a leader. So then she has to kind of fill in for that, because you can't just stop. Forward progression is what you have to, if not, you're gonna succumb to whatever it is. So a lot of times, Black women are not afforded the opportunity to cultivate the femininity that other races may be able to enjoy and have the privilege of doing because of the circumstances that we have been put in. And it's not all on men. And what I said is that sometimes we don't have a safe space to do that. And it's not because a safe space, our men aren't giving us a safe space. It's because we have are put in opportunities where we don't have time to cultivate that femininity because we are surviving. We have to work 2 or 3 jobs. We have to make sure to keep our kids fed, sheltered, do our best to keep them out off the streets, out of jail. You wear when you are wearing 3 or 4 different hats. Being soft and demure and feminine, we really, and it's not really about like the purses or anything like that. It's I can't really fully cultivate my role as the feminine woman, as a woman that a man would be like, man, I really like her, but she has a lot of masculine energy. Well, where does that masculine energy come from? What happened to this woman to where she felt like she had to take on that masculine energy, and now she doesn't know how to let go of it because that's all she's been thriving in, right? That's all she's been operating in, functioning in. So, a man can't give you a woman's feminine energy. We can't get permission from you to. But sometimes when we are left in certain positions, certain circumstances, we just don't. It's not something that we can even tap into because we're so busy tapping and trying to make sure that that things are progressing in our lives, like our children.
Okay, so I'm hearing you speak about it in a manner where you have to continue to move your life forward, right? And you said you hadn't been able to cultivate that.
Some women. I'm not saying all women.
So my question is, before life happens, where was the cultivation at then? Because see that.
What do you mean before life happens?
So when you start before the 2 kids and before the career and before the man leaves and before all of that, where was that ingrained in you, cultivated already from, I guess, mothers, grandmothers, aunts? So where was that at? Because it seemed like you're coming from.
What if? So I didn't see my mother. I don't know what femininity looks like, and I'm not saying me. I'm just saying in general because I know what femininity looks like. Okay, but maybe I didn't see my mother or my grandmother, cultivate what it looks like and what it feels like to be feminine because they also it's a perpetual cycle, right? And you hear it a lot, and you've said it. You have these women who all the men are gone, and even the men and their families, the sons, whatever, they don't want to deal with these women because these women are just
very dominant,
very dominant, and that's not a trait of femininity, right? That hard, dominant. I call it big dick energy, right? And so I never saw it. My mom never saw it. My grandmother never saw it. And maybe my grandmother or my great grandmother had the man there, but because of the circumstances that they were living in, because of what society put on them, she still was not able to learn how to be this, because she had to be hard and she had to be this and she had to be that. And so she didn't pass that down to her child, and her child didn't pass it down to her child. So it is a cycle. And when I say we were not afforded that space, it's not always about because the man left. I know I use it a lot, but it's not always about that. We have to go back and say, okay, society did not allowed black women to have that. So now, we're in this space where, and the men are saying, look, we tired of y'all being hard. We tired of y'all being independent. We tired, and I get it, because I'm tired of seeing it too. Hell, and there are a lot of black women who are tired of seeing it. And there is a lady, I wish I knew her name. There's a lady on she's a lady on TikTok who I follow, and she's a black woman, gorgeous, beautiful black woman.
You're not talking about April Mason, are you?
No,
oh.
I don't know who April Mason is, but I don't know who I'm talking about either. But she speaks about the black feminine energy and how it is the source of life, and it is the source, and how we have gotten so far away from it that even when we talk about it, it makes women uncomfortable, because a part of that means you have to be in your role as a woman. And your role as a woman is not for you to be over your man and tell your man, well, I can do this, I don't need you. That's not your role.
Yeah.
So then we become so uncomfortable with it, we start to see it something else. See it as, being submissive. I don't have to be submissive to a man. It's ingrained in us, but a lot of that comes from, if I put down all of my boundaries and all of my walls, and I be submissive to this man, and I become this feminine being for him, and he gets up and leave, or he gets up and does whatever he wants to do, now I'm stuck. And I don't want to be stuck. And my mama told me you don't need a man for this, and and I should have listened to my mama. And it's vicious.
But let me ask you this: as a woman, and I'm talking about the femininity, and you just said, if I do this for him, the femininity to me is for you, because your body gets off kilter when you're not operating in that. So you can't turn it on and off and say, okay, well, I'm the hardest, I'm Lady Rage, and now all of a sudden I'm just the softest of the soft. And so
Lady Rage.
I'm not I don't think you can say that, oh, if I do this for him.
But see, we've been so programmed to everything that we fix up our hair, we've been so programmed to do it for a man, right? And when we push back and say, well, we're not doing this for a man anymore, we're doing it for ourselves. So now we get pushback from men. And it's a tug of war, really.
And so let's go to the program. If you are, so I heard you correctly. Your I'm
laughing, y'all, because your
mindset is, I was doing this for a man.
Do it for us is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is, if you were doing this for a man, and you're saying that you were programmed by society, isn't it a desire to attract a man outside of any programming? And so what you would usually do is you would go through and say, okay, what does whatever I'm fishing for like to eat, right? And if you know that it's the hair or the lips or the dresses or the way I don't know if it's so much of a programming, but I think there is a deprogramming of, hey, you can be, you said we're tired of being strong, but I think the strong, independent, all that stuff has been put on you so much that you're like, hey, this kind of feels good. I feel like I'm in a position of power. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where people start to take it to, is what I'm saying.
In some instances, yes. And And even then, in those instances where women, man, this feels good. I'm in a position of power. Until you realize I'm in a position of power and I can't enjoy it with the man I want to enjoy it with because I have pushed him away. All the men who, I've given off that alpha, energy and that masculine energy. I'm a boss. We talked about bosses today.
Yeah.
I'm a boss, bitch, and da. And men are like, let me go over here to a woman who is not going to challenge me and try to be my equal in my male energy because I'm the only person with male parts who should have male energy.
And I also want to clarify something when you said challenge me. A lot of people take that as for you when you're talking to men, it's like, oh, y'all don't want to be challenged. That's not what she's saying. She's saying challenge you for the man of the household.
Yeah.
If you went out and you got a man, you have to let him be that the same way you ask us to allow you
to be the woman.
Because now here's the thing. In that same conversation, let's say that you did as a man take on a woman and you were not handling your business.
As a man or as a woman?
Well, then if she's not going to let anything fall down and she's going to try to cope as best as she can and where that masculine energy might come in. But the thing is, you were in place where it shouldn't have had to creep in. You know what I'm saying? Because most guys, they try to look for a woman who will allow them to do their role so they can allow the woman to do their role. The competition comes in at is when, I had a buddy of mine tell me he took his pants off and handed them to his wife and said, try those on. She said, I can't fit them. He said, exactly. Why you keep trying to put my pants on? And he said, man, he said, I feel like I'm literally fighting her. It was like, he said one time.
Where do you think that comes from?
He told me the cycle. Her mom, she was raised by, and the grandma, all the aunts, he said they have literally ran off
everybody,
all the men.
Yeah. It's funny because my best friend in my head and one of my girl crushes, the woman who every song is a narration of my life at some point in my life, Jill Scott. And I don't let nobody talk about Jill, okay? This is my girl, okay?
I bypassed it just a second ago because I was about to bring her up.
Jill Scott's now ex-husband said he left because he got tired of fighting for his position. And he says that family has no men. They don't know how to cater, not cater. They don't know how to treat men. They don't know how to talk to men. They don't know how to be around a man. And I thought that was so interesting because I've heard that a lot about black women. I've never heard that when it comes to other women in other races.
Well, you know what? I did hear this from a black woman who was in corporate America. She said, we're in corporate America, and me and my girlfriends, anytime something goes down, we are like, we ready. Like, what is it? We gonna handle the situation. We gonna confront it head on. And she said, and I'm watching my white counterparts, the white females, they're just navigating this whole thing. And she said, I had to stop and say, how did she get that promotion? How did she get to this spot? And she said, I really realized she knew how to play the game to get what she wanted. And we were like, we here for the fight. And she was like, I noticed everything doesn't take a fight in that way. She said they were fighting differently. And she said,
and it's not, but they were fighting with their femininity.
They were fighting with their femininity. And she said, I had to really process. And she said, I started to talk to a couple of them and ask them about family history. And she said, so you watch how mom got what she wanted out of dad. She said, I ain't never seen my mama with a man. She said, so I don't know.
You don't know what it looks like.
And she said, I felt like I was at a disadvantage in my workplace because it was a male-dominated field, and I didn't know how to operate around them to get what I wanted.
here is what here is what's funny to me. I have worked a lot of places, and the two strongest forces in the workplace: white male, black female. When you go up against a fight, and it's funny because white males and black females feel like that they are the backbones of their, seriously.
Okay.
They feel like that white males feel like if I don't get it, if I don't make it happen, it's not gonna happen. Black females feel like if I don't make it happen, it ain't gonna happen. And it's a when you think about it, it's a very interesting dynamic because my biggest threat, my biggest enemy to me is a white male, right? Because the white male wants to take out my biggest commodity, the black male. But if you're in corporate America or even whatever type of setting,
Call centers. That's what you were thinking.
I was not thinking call centers.
Yes, you were.
If you're in any type of setting, sit back and watch who the two main forces are, because white women know how to kind of maneuver, and black men know how to maneuver very well and not make so much of a fuss. Black women have to be heard, like they have to be, and when we get home, we have to be heard. We have to be, and is it because we feel like we don't have a voice, or we have been silent for so long that, damn it, you're going to hear us now? And if that is the case, we need to learn when to use that voice, where to take that voice to, and when to just sit back and watch the chess moves.
And sometimes it's just sitting back and watching the chess moves.
We have to find a way to do that.
Yeah.
Instead of always being so emotional with it. Because the thing is, you are not going to oppress me anymore, damn it. I'm going to be heard. And sometimes silence is not oppression. Silence is how you maneuver and move through and get to where you need to be. Also, same applies at your household. Your husband should not feel like he has to battle with you in your house.
No. And that's where we start talking about, because I even told my wife one time, because she came to me and she said, hey, it really hurts my feelings when. Oh, it broke me down. You know why? She came to me so soft.
Yeah.
And now the woman that I want to protect said, you really hurt my feelings when blah, blah, blah. Okay. What do I need to do? Why? Because the thing is, I might have meant the point that I wanted to get across. I might have believed that what I was saying was needed to be said. This time she said, yeah, but you hurt my feelings. And I said, listen, I'm going to let you know now, that's your most effective thing to do, because in your feminine, listen, understand this. In the story of Samson and Delilah, they sent armies of men after Samson and they couldn't get him. It only took one woman, because if she had came in like, yo, I'm in here to get you, he would have been like, yeah, turn her head around at the door. You not coming in because I know you trying to come with them. But when
because listen, they sent those army of men for one man, and they came in with the same type of energy that they thought Samson had. And like, Samson was ready to match that energy.
Let's go.
She disarmed Samson
quickly
with her, and Delilah, Delilah's bad, right? Yeah, she disarmed him with that femininity. And see, men need that, because this is kind of a weird analogy, but my hairstylists say all the time, when men send their women to get their hair, and my hairstylist is a guy, a heterosexual man. He said when husbands send their wives to me to get their hair done, I make sure that I get to know that brother and ask that brother, so man, so what you like to see? He said, because a man wants to lay next to his woman. He don't want to lay next to a woman that feels like it's a man. He don't want the buzz cut and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He said the man wants to feel that feminine energy from her crown to her feet. And he was like, y'all don't even know the power that y'all have in your femininity.
So in that same vein, because like to me, even you speaking on that, I think that, someone with a buzz cut would have a problem with you saying that.
They would.
So
throw a wig on. Hell, I don't know what to tell you. We were trying not to do sarcasm.
No, we're trying not to.
No, but
what I'm saying is
that was my analogy from.
But
buzz cut. My bad.
It's funny that him as a guy says, "Let me find out what the man wants," because I've heard a lot of women say, pretty much, not maybe verbatim, but their action says, "I don't care what you like. I will do what I like." Now, I had a friend who had a situation where his wife wore her hair. She never wore it like this, but she wore it the way he liked it. And he was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
He said, "Dude, I couldn't stay off of her."
Yeah.
He said, and a week later, she changed it back to one hairstyle I couldn't stand. I was like,
yeah.
Well, I thought you were supposed to be for me. And he said she went right back and he said, "Man, it's like it was such a turn off." He said, because it was almost like you disregarded my feelings, and you did. And in his eyes, you was operating in your feminine space to say, "Hey, here's this little carrot in front of you." He said, because when I do all my man stuff, I'm doing that as that's my carrot. Like, hey, he said, and I complimented. I did. He said it was almost like she wanted to fight, and he was like,
I wonder where that comes from. I wonder where that comes from in a woman. I want to shave my hair. I really want to shave it off. And my man's like, "No, absolutely not. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?" And I remember when I was going to my stylist, is no longer a stylist anymore. He decided to go be rich and flip houses instead of being unrich and do my hair. But I remember my appointment was every Thursday, like clockwork, 7:00, and David didn't give a damn what was going on. He didn't give a damn how much it cost. He loved the way Cyrus did my hair. And I feel like if he had to go dig in mines just to make sure he had that $76 every week, and I remember I wanted it a certain way, and Cyrus said, "What is he gonna think?" And now,
what's your first thought?
It ain't his damn hair. That's my first thought. And I was like, I don't. And then I said, well, he is paying for it every week. I am his wife. And when I get my hair done, he looks at me a different way. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you have that selfish part about you, because that first thought is, do he ask me about it?
Yeah.
But it's a human reaction, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to step outside of yourself and say, what's going to make him happy? Because
at the end of the day, did you not get married under the Bible? And the Bible says what? You belong to him. Yeah, well, you belong to him and he belongs to you, right? Yes. And I know there's certain levels, but we're just saying in this small, minute thing with hair. For me, my barber ended up leaving town. I had to go back when I had hair.
Okay.
I had to go and find a new barber. I would go, I would come home. What you think? She said, I said, yeah, I didn't think so either. And these will, let me tell you something. A man's relationship with his barber is a special one.
Yes, I
And
understand.
I was going to my homeboys telling them I ain't coming back. You know why?
Yeah.
Because the woman at home said, you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
And I went to 3 or 4, and I finally went to get one guy, and I said, I think you might have the job. I'm going to go home. I'm going to see. If she says yes, he said, here's my card. Call me back. Let me know what she says. And I said, you got the job. Why? Because what I wanted to do was make sure that she liked it.
Yeah.
That's not always the flip side. When and listen,
especially with women, black women in their hair,
and some men don't. Some men really don't care about hair. I have a hair fetish.
Yeah.
Some men don't
that's
care
you
about
don't
hair.
have any.
I did. And you did that. Yeah. So
give myself
a demotion.
A demotion.
So,
yeah.
But the thing is that everybody has their thing. But I just know that I wanted to make sure that I brought home something, because to me, I believe that me operating in my masculine energy, well, I want my woman to be able to, still like me and whatever. So, but I just, when we talked about that, and I saw a comment, I did want to get you. Fran said black women do not have that privilege of white women, and we understand in this world that.
And black women understand that more than anybody.
There's some privileges that we sitting up here could talk about. Oh, I don't have this, and you don't have, and we know going forward it don't. But the reason I asked you the question earlier was going into that survival mode, taking away that feminine energy and that your femininity. Ask yourself seriously, how is that working out for us overall?
Let me ask you a question. What is the alternative?
The alternative is getting in touch with who you were created to be, no matter the circumstances or the situations. That's why, and I know I got people that'll get super mad at me for saying this. If the daddy ain't around, you not mama and daddy. You just a super mom. You are a great woman. You are somebody who went out there and you taught your son how to play tackle football. You didn't teach him how to play tackle football as a dad.
Right.
You went out there and taught him as a mom because you did what you had to do.
Right.
That doesn't make you, well, I'm the mama and the daddy, because you could never be. That's why you don't hear men saying, I'm the mama and the daddy. You would look at us crazy because you're like, how?
Right.
And so the thing is, and I think you even brought this up one time, we were talking about parental standings, how the men could be the masculine and the nurturer, but it looks out of place when the woman tries to be the masculine, and so it's kind of like something is a little off with that. So, but that was the part about the femininity. Also, and I got to give credit where credit is due. There's a podcast that records here called The Core, and they brought up a question or a statement about respect. So we know the Bible says, for men to love your wife as Christ loves the church, but it tells women it doesn't tell women to love your husband. It says to respect your husband, right? So respect is big for men. But so he did a survey of 100 men and 100 women, the host, friend of The Core. And he said, out of 100 men, I got 70 different responses of what respect meant to them. So we always talking about black people as a whole are not a monolith, but even black men, because they all thought respect, 70 different answers out of 100 men came up something different what respect was. He said, so then I went to go ask 100 women. Have you ever asked your man, what does respect mean to him? And he said not one had ever asked, what does that mean to you? And that was the very thing that the Bible, which most people got married under the guidance of the Bible, said to do to your husband. Nobody asked, what did respect look like to you? And
my question is, how do we know to ask if in our minds we think that respect means one thing, and it's amazing to me that people will have different definitions of respect, because you think respect is respect, but I don't think nobody's ever really delved into what their definition of, because I would have never asked to think or think to ask if you think respect is different from the next man, because in my head, in my mind, respect is I'm not gonna ever, I'm not gonna ever call you out of your name. I'm not gonna ever have you in the streets looking like I'm some harlot, and the whole city is talking about you. The whole world's laughing at But you're absolutely right. Respect to you may be something completely different, and I talked about this book. That please read this book if you can, especially if you're married. It's called the love that she wants, the respect that he needs. I believe that's the name. It's love and respect, but the respect is for the man, love is for the woman, and it really touches on and talks about how deep respect is for men, because a man can feel loved from a puppy, right? Because love doesn't hit, I mean, not you don't need love, but love doesn't hit your core or your cylinder the way it does for women. But respect is like, and which is also interesting because a woman can love you all day long, but when a woman loses respect for you, when a woman loses respect for a man, game over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
And guess what? When she can love him all day long, but when she disrespects him.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the one thing that I'm a very,
because a disrespectful woman to a man, like even though, like you when you hear a man disrespect a woman, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe But when a woman disrespect a man, it's like it's a guttural thing. You're just like, oh my God.
But and the thing is that it's funny you said I would never thought to ask that, because we know the thing you need is love, and they came up with the love languages. They came up with all this stuff, and we need to know our woman's love language. We need to know all that. But it's never an onus for women to really know what the man needs, because we talked about this before. You got sayings like happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
And I'm for
which
one,
I don't agree with.
I do not agree with that, because that means that you are so selfish that nobody can be happy if you're not.
Yeah.
And we know happy is an emotion. So what you're saying is, if I ain't happy today, this whole house is going down.
Right.
And my thing is, ladies, if you believe that, and you might be married and believe that right now, but I'm gonna tell you something. That's not really, a man don't want to hear that. A happy wife, happy life. Now, is he gonna do his best to try to make you happy? Yeah, but guess what? If you're happy and you're the only one happy, there's a possibility he's miserable.
And here's the thing, and I can't speak for all women. I can speak for myself. If my man isn't happy, that makes me extremely unhappy, because I want you to be. I can't be happy if you're unhappy. That's off kilter, And I don't want, just like if I'm unhappy and you happy go lucky, well, something is wrong. Something is wrong. But as a woman, if my man is unhappy, that's a problem, because I'm here to make you happy. And then if I'm just happy and happy go lucky and everything's okay, and you over there suffering, that's extremely selfish.
But a lot of people don't even have the wherewithal to notice that the other person is not, right? Because they're so caught up in themselves. And
but how you not know somebody's unhappy?
But guess what? If I've taught you that as long as you happy, then everybody else got to be happy. And there's a lot of people who believe that to their core.
I can see that. And because there are a lot of men who hide their unhappiness. They walk around.
It's cool.
Yeah,
I'm all right.
And you keep taking it.
Yeah.
But then when you become this disassociative being, and you have no feelings, and you just have you're just almost a robot in a shell, and damn, what happened to TJ? Well, shit, you never asked him about his happiness.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and asking about that, and I love, and I can't remember the quote exactly, but Samore, the comedian, said that she was making a joke about her and her white friends, and she said, her white friend asked her, how your relationship? She said, oh, girl, we happy. And she said, the white lady said, yeah, but is he? And she said, I was like, the hell you mean is he happy? I'm happy, he happy.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, that's not how that worked.
Yeah.
But Samore was like, in my head, if I'm happy, hell yeah, he happy. And she was like, I had to learn my happiness doesn't necessarily mean that he is. He could be, and this.
A lot of women get blindsided, or they think they get blindsided when the man says, "I can do this." Well, what happened? I thought we were happy. I haven't been happy for years. Like, how do you not know that your man hasn't been happy for years?
You know why? Because he was taught
to keep it.
He was taught to
take it on the chin and keep on going.
Well, Valentine's Day, she got some Valentine's Day. Yeah. What she wanted for her birthday, y'all took a trip for their anniversary. He did all this stuff. He was still paying the bills. He was and
give you and me. I give gifts for everything. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. I'm not the only. I give Valentine's Day gifts. I give Easter basket gifts.
But so now when think about the teachings, if one is saying take it on the chin and keep it going, because guess what? That happy wife, happy life is not only not only said and taught to women, it's said and taught to men too.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, well, I guess this is it.
Are men comfortable with talking about their happiness?
Are we comfortable? It becomes uncomfortable if we think
it's going to be weaponized against you,
or if we think that it's going to make you unhappy. And I don't mean
yeah.
I'm not saying that's every guy.
Yeah.
But a lot of times
I see that.
If he think it's going to make you unhappy, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll suffer in silence. I'm a man, I'm strong. And that's what a lot of guys take on. And and guess what? You're happy, you're smiling, you're doing all the things you want to do. And especially if you guys are pretty, good financially and you ain't struggling bill to bill, everything looks good. And he's really like, man,
yeah,
I wish I need a way out, And so, because I'm gonna tell you something else, it also happens in the reverse abuse situations where we talk about, if a man does them to a woman, it's like, oh my God, but do you know how many men are in abuse shelters or should be in abuse shelters, but they were taught what? You never hit a woman.
Yep.
And guess what? Even if she hits you, you a punk if you say something or you do something. I literally know personally, and this is kind of like, it's kind of upsetting, but I literally know men who have really kind of shunned one brother who made a report on a girl, and they was like, oh, that was kind of a punk move. I'm like, wait a minute.
But she was harming him.
Yeah. And so, but guess what? Guess what they were taught? Say, man, you don't do that. So they really were expressing, I've been taught to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And you don't do that because that's not not manly.
A couple of years ago, I was actually on a board of a nonprofit for domestic abuse, Better Place Ministries. I think I got kicked off, but Barbara. No, but and we talked about the amount of men who are in abusive relationships, physical abuse, also, mentally abusive too, but physically abusive. And they are either embarrassed to come forward.
Yes.
Or they can't talk about it. But it's interesting because we'll be like, oh, you let her do this to you. But we'll tell our sons, because I tell my nephews quick, you don't allow nobody to put their hands on you. You don't allow, you're not supposed to hit a girl. Tell your daughters, tell your nieces, tell your next door neighbor children, do not put their hands on men, on these young boys, on these, on these young adults or whatever. Teach the girls the same thing that we're teaching the boys when it comes to physical contact, right? Because if we are always telling the guys, the males don't hit the women and, keep your hands to yourself, which we should also give that same lessons to
that should be universal.
Yeah, it should be universal, because there are a lot of men who suffer from physical violence, and then if you say something, you're deemed as a punk, a simp, or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're the one that's been injured, been struck. Like you could lose your life.
But ask yourself, why is she so free to put her
To do
hands on
that.
him? Because she knows you're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And especially if she knows what he's been taught, and she
And the
knows
court
what
of
his,
public opinion is going to rail you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
her.
So that's the thing. I think we have to ask your man the questions you would want him to ask you. First of all, find out what are those things that are important to him. Like you said,
Let me ask you a question.
what is that?
Let's say we do ask our men
Mm-hmm.
some of these questions, and they don't feel comfortable with. I don't know. I don't think about these things, or I don't know. It's in a very dismissive way because they are afraid to even broach those subjects for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as a man, think that we as women should we keep asking? Should we back off? What do we do when we have these men who that emotional side was not cultivated properly, so they don't even know what they want. They don't even know how they want to be loved and respected.
I think then, you guys, always talking about the intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So intuition can be used a couple of different ways. One, it can be used to know when it's a good time to even bring that up,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you have to have us torn down in certain ways. And
Usually it's after sex.
thank you. And what happens is that you ask the question maybe in different ways to kind of get the answer, because guess what? You guys are in this relationship, so that means that communication has to be there in order for it to become a successful relationship going forward, right? So now it's like, okay, well, I asked him what makes him happy or what he thinks respect. I don't know. I don't really think about that. Okay, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna need you to think about that for this reason. I am here to do my best to give you what you need. And what I don't want to happen is 10 years down the road, I didn't give you what you need only because you didn't tell me what you need. So I understand it might be a little hard for you to express that because expressing emotion is not what you do, or feelings or whatever. But this is what I'm going to need.
Yeah.
And when you start talking about what you're going to need, if you got a real one, it might be one brick off the Great China Wall.
but yeah.
But
celebrate that one brick.
Celebrate that one brick, because he's like, okay, because guess what? That same thing you talked about on the femininity of the buildup, a lot of times we have built up this machoism on certain things that we're like, because some guys you talking about survival, they literally had to survive. Some certain places in this country, some neighborhoods, you really had to survive, and me showing 1 ounce of weakness to anybody could get me killed.
Yeah.
So guess what? That one brick, but here's the thing. If you are the right one and you got a real one, understand this process might take time. And we are in this for the long haul, which means that we got a lifetime, and we're going to just take down. Listen, we both might be 65, and I say, I finally got this thing down. But celebrate the process and the enjoyment. Now, if that person continually will not ever break it down, whether it's on the man's side or the female side, you start have to question what's your real place in that person. That can't be the first thing always. But you do question what your role to that person is, because they're defensive against you, and now it would always be a headbutt, which cannot cultivate a successful relationship.
Right. I agree.
I want to say this before we get out of here. I had another one that I did want to get to. I always hear ladies talk about, I don't want to lower my standards, right? And I'm here to say, ladies, you have to have more standards than the dollar bill. Every time that I have heard standards, it was only relating to money. So many times I've heard women talk about their relationship with a guy and love is never mentioned. Caring is never mentioned. Respect is never mentioned. Protection is never mentioned. Intelligence is never mentioned. All these things are not mentioned, but I won't lower my standard because of a dollar amount. And at we have been forced into this. It got to be a certain dollar amount for me to say I'm not lowering my standards, right? And I'm saying, ladies, you have to put onus on other standards, because I just showed Shannon a video by Dr. I think his name is John. I can't remember. It was a name that's not a common name, but and he talked about how the economy and what the economy put emphasis on has changed our relationships, and we think we're making this up. He said when we were working in the fields, the man and woman worked together. There was an economic reason for us to stay together. When the economy put an emphasis on industry, and he said when he was working in the fields, our family, the economy said that we needed extended family because we needed people to work the fields. When it went to industrial era, the economy said that our family we needed the nuclear family. The man worked the factory, the woman took care of the kids. When we got to the computer era, the economy says single parent household, because it has dictated, well, now I don't need this. And he kept saying there was more than love that kept us together.
It was an economic need.
It was the economic need and the feeling that we needed each other in this mindset. Now, I'm not going to dismiss what you said that, well, sometimes it was an abuse of power by the man, and where when situations came up for the woman to be able to go, she went. Only reason I push back on some of that is our numbers did this when other races' numbers took a slight dip. Ours hit the tank. And I'm saying, man, were the black men that bad in comparison to everybody else? Or were our women waiting to get away from us for whatever reason? Because we can go back through history and see that whether it's abused mentally or physically, that happened across all races.
It did.
Rape happened across all races. Cheating happened across all races. Why is it after 1960 that our community took a plunge in the marriage numbers in comparison to everybody else?
My question is, I guess, in order for us to find an answer for that, what actions did black women take after the 1960s, and what actions did black men take after the 1960s? What direction did one move in? Because it does not seem like they both moved into the same direction. It seems like one may have taken one direction and the other one took another direction. So my question is to you, what direction did each one take?
I think, if I can answer it correctly, the direction that the men took, I think they stayed on their path because they were still the main breadwinners as far as money makers for the house. I do know that at around that time, education became super serious for the women. And being able to go to college and even we look back at shows like Good Times, like JJ was a dummy, but Thelma was going to college, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it was like, listen,
which I hate, because that started a perpetual cycle of society telling black people, telling the black man, you can only because JJ was a goofball, and Thelma was serious. She went to school. Of course, she had Michael, who was Michael. And when you look at a lot of black families, whether it's 2-parent or 1-parent household, right? And I talk about this ad nauseum. Black girls are pushed to succeed. You don't have a choice. You can't fail. And black boys, you can go play it. You can go play your football. You can be an athlete. But you laissez. You can just laissez faire. You can do whatever you feel, and it's gonna be okay. Black girls, you don't have a choice. And you see that a lot in black families. Do you see that a lot?
Absolutely. The girls are pushed hard to go out and go get it, and you do, and the boys are kind of left their own devices for this. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons is this: there are in this day and age where we've gotten into a lot of the individual business, a little different. Mm-hmm. But there was always a way for a man with no education to go out there and at the last minute say, all right, I'm going to go over here work at this factory. Now I work at this factory. I got a job that bought me a house, bought my wife a car and everything else. And whereas physical labor dominated a lot of the industries, that wasn't a actual real viable option for you, so you had to go somewhere where you can use something other than your physical ability. You had to go use your mind, which means that education, happened. Mm-hmm. And so, and like I said last week,
I think you're answering your question.
But here's the thing.
Or maybe you're answering my question.
Well, the thing is, we even saw James Evans. He went to school too.
But before he had to be convinced to go to school.
He had to be convinced to go to school.
What did he tell Flo?
There's only two places for a woman.
Don't you say it, James.
In the kitchen and the bedroom, Flo. So, but to the thing, to the point of.
Do you know he left the show because he hated the message that the show was giving?
And then Florida left because she said you took away. You took away the man.
Well, I don't remember Florida leaving, but
she did. She went and she married an atheist. Yeah.
On the show?
Yeah. So the same Florida that kept them down, that wouldn't let them do all the stuff that James had planned.
Which is another seed plant. Like I hate. We're gonna have a breakdown of good times one day because it is the stereotype, and it's just like the whole show is a walking stereotype. but to try to answer your question, I don't have an answer for your question. All I can do is I try to go back and look at what was happening, because I hate looking at symptoms, right? I like looking at the actual causation of something. What caused these symptoms? What is the nucleus of these results, right? Of what's going on. And so when you say, what happened after 1960? Okay, what direction did black women go in, and what direction did black men go in? And that will tell you a little bit about what the breakdown of the family and
can I tell you what I also think was part of that? During the time of slavery.
Yeah, we need a slavery.
Yeah, we do. It always comes on the show.
There need to be some chains rattling.
During the time of slavery, you guys were forced to be with us, having a choice. We came out. We were still together because economic opportunities were slim, and you still needed some type of protection. Everything else.
Well, wait a minute.
But no, that's what I'm saying. But
before slavery, were we forced to be with y'all too?
But see, I don't know if
we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't. What I'm saying is, white women got a chance to experience a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
In the midst of all the stuff we was going through.
Yeah.
Y'all never, so we don't talk about symptom or cause, the ability to have the freedom that you've never got a chance to experience. It's like a kid getting to go to college. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we out here, right? And so I think the thing is that psychologically also played in.
Do you guys fault us for that?
Where we say in general, where we start faulting you is like, man, y'all followed behind Y'all followed
feminist.
behind the white feminist movement, and it took you out the house, and then welfare came along, and they said the man's in the house, you can't, and y'all chose the check over the man, and so you got your apartment, and we couldn't be in the house, and so those are the general things that could come up. But all I'm saying is this.
I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
Do you fault the black woman for the destruction, or not even the destruction, for the shift or the change in the black family, in the nucleus of the black family? Is the blame on the woman?
Is the blame
in your opinion?
Is the blame on the woman? Let's see. I don't know. And if you guys see me moving around this chair a lot, because I'm catching a Charlie horse in my leg.
I was like, what is he?
No, my leg is cramping up
and
like crazy.
I am trying my best to keep
but
this
I'm like, I know they watching like, what's going on? Because if I jump about this seat, it's going to be a whole nother issue. But I don't know. Leg day was yesterday. I don't know if shut up.
Okay.
I think
because I hear it a lot, and I want to ask you as a black man, do you really feel that? Because that's important. Because when I hear it, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I
think I don't know what was going on, but I do think y'all left us.
I'm so sorry. Like, that makes me feel bad to hear you say that.
I do, and again, I wasn't around at that time, but as we kind of look back at a lot of different things,
yeah,
I think that y'all left us for that freedom that you looked across and said, man.
Yeah.
White women just
and you were like, we
moving around,
moving around freely, burning bras, and you were like, I have been in the trenches with you this whole time.
Yeah.
And all you needed to do was believe in me. We might not have gotten there as quick as you wanted to,
because we were behind a ball, and we had to do a transition. But you know what we couldn't do?
Stop.
We couldn't stop our ability to provide for the house to shut it down and go to school. Because guess what? There were a lot of situations where you got to think about the different wars that took people out of the house, men out of the house, and all that other stuff. A lot of young boys came out of school and had to go to work. They had to go to the military. They had to do so. All of a sudden, they came out like, you got to go produce.
Yeah.
And so that luxury a lot of times was, boy, you ain't going to college. You know, we're going to put this girl in college. You're going to go out here and come to this plant with your daddy.
That's funny because before we got out here, that's my grandfather. All of his sisters are educated. Oh, were educated. They old and dead now. But
we could have left it at the first one though.
Okay. My mind just won't let me be. But they were all educated, and if the brothers that were educated, they were not educated because the father sent them to school. They went into the military and got their education that way.
Yeah.
And I asked my papa one day, how come they didn't get out? The men didn't get an opportunity to go to college or whatever. And he said we weren't allowed to. The girls had to go because the women were going to, you know, we had to go because they had land. We had to go and work the land, whatever. And the women were going to take care of the books and everything for us. So the women had to go get educated. I thought that was so interesting. And you still see the dynamic to this very day.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot. I love my mama, God rest her soul, but she made me learn everything. I'm not lying when I say that I can, as a 10-year-old child, I can tell you everything about that Nita Hill trial. I knew who Joe Biden was before Joe Biden was Obama's vice president, because Joe Biden was over that Nita. Like, I watched Mandela leave out of, I had to write a report on that. I had to read encyclopedia. Like, I had to do, and my brothers got to do whatever they wanted to do.
But watch this. I can't
Yes, I'm
remember
the smarter
if it
sibling.
was I can't remember if it was Paul Mooney or Dick Gregory, but it was one of those two. And I want to say it might have been Dick Gregory. He said, "Listen, what happened is when the black women was made to sleep with the slave owners, they realized how much they hated the black man. So in protection, the black mother wanted to protect her black son.
Yeah.
He said she essentially turned her son into the pimp. Why? The son stayed at home, but all the women had to go out and work.
Yeah.
They brought all the money back home. She was so scared if she let him go in the street, he would not return home. And I said, wow, do you know how many women I know were forced by their mom to go out and the son didn't have to do anything? Now, what type of mindset is that creating for the boy to say, well, I don't have to go out and do it? This is why men can't stand when we hear women call their son man of the house, because to be the man of the house takes work. And you have given that title to him with no work. And now when he's 26 with a woman, he's telling her to go to work while he drives her car all day and play video games, and he's the man of the house.
Now, I want you to remember this when you say that men are the only things that are loved unconditionally. Whatever you say, I want you to remember this conversation, okay?
I remember this conversation. I got something for that too. Hey, listen.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
We ran over a little bit, but
Yeah.
y'all been hanging in there with us.
Yeah, and we do appreciate it. Hopefully, we give you guys something, or we gave you guys something to talk about, discuss, and leave in the comment section. But we wanted to have a conversation where we were able to give both sides of it. And
This didn't seem as contentious as last week.
it did seem. But the thing is that hopefully we were able to do that where everybody can be heard, and we wanted to create that platform where we could do that. So
Shout out to Bruce Banner.
that's Spider-Man.
Bruce Banner is Incredible Hulk.
And it was one of them.
I love Bruce Banner.
So
I'm in love with Bruce Banner.
So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us here at The Last Podcast. Remember to follow us on Facebook. It is The Last Podcast 1. And on Instagram, it is _ The Last Podcast. So make sure to keep the comments coming. Make sure you share this. Let everybody know about the show. And so we can keep growing our audience. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys who hang out with us each and every week. Yes. So next week, we'll have to figure out where we're going to go from here and what conversation we're going to have. We might be back on that shit.
Let me tell you something. I appreciated this
purge of feelings.
It's been very hard to fight our natural selves because I've never been this amicable with you before ever in my life.
Never. And it's been, look, we hadn't went this long without, ever. So, next week we might have to get that out of the system. Yeah. So,
I may come like Donald T. Trump next week. Straight ignorant, okay?
Well, listen, hey, you guys got to tune in next week to see where we're going to go with it. But we do appreciate you guys here. And hopefully, if you liked us, this was not the last podcast. See you next week.
I see what you did there.